shadows are regions formed when light from a source is blocked by anything placed in its path. Hello, I'm David. Today we are going to discuss the different categories of materials basing on their shadows and also talk about the different regions or parts of a shadow. So we've designed a model that will help us categorize the different materials based on the shadows that they will form on our screen. This paper is going to act as our screen, and then the model is here, and it has a rectangular piece of plastic paper, and then we also have a plywood piece that is circular in shape, and then I have with me a triangular cardboard piece, and then finally we have a square plastic lid cover that was cut from a plastic container. Then we shall have the source of light, which is going to be our torch, that will help us observe what will take place on the screen. So here's what we're going to do to observe clearly what will take place on our screen. So my screen is placed here, and then I will hold my model just in front of the screen, and then I will introduce a source of light, which is my torch, and switch it on to observe what will be happening on our screen. So for purposes of clear observation, we shall need a dark room, and therefore we shall switch off some lights. So from our observation, we can all see that the light from the torch literally goes through the rectangular plastic piece of paper, and such objects that allow almost all the light to pass through them are called transparent objects. So let's now try to focus the light from the torch on the plastic lid cover and try to see what happens on our screen. So from our observation, we note that not all light from the torch was able to go through the plastic lid cover, and therefore we are able to see a faint shadow formed on the screen. So let's also try turning our model upside down so that we also see the other shapes. So we have our triangular cardboard shape. When I try to focus the light from the torch towards the triangular piece of cardboard, we can all see a triangular shadow formed on the screen, and we can also try to focus the light towards the plywood piece that is circular in shape. From our observations, we can all see that there are very dark shadows formed that are triangular in shape and circular in shape, implying that these two objects did not allow any light to pass through them. So objects such as these that do not allow any light to pass through them are called opaque objects. So we've seen that opaque objects such as this circular piece of plywood and the rectangular cardboard piece, and other examples such as this ball, will not allow light to pass through them. So let's use this ball, which we have said is an opaque object, and this model here called the Enhanced Science Curriculum Eclipse model, designed by Fundi bots, to demonstrate the two regions formed by a shadow. So in this eclipse model, we have this white sheet of paper as our screen, and then I will attach this ball to our model a few centimeters from the screen that is going to act as our opaque object, and then finally I will focus light from a source, in this case which is our torch, to hit the opaque object, and then we observe what takes place on the screen. This whole process will help us identify the regions formed by the shadow of this opaque object. So when I try to focus my light from the torch towards the object, what do you notice on the screen? You can pause the video for a minute or two and write down your observations. From observations, we are able to see that our shadow has formed 3 regions. The outer shadow is faintly dark, then the second shadow is darker than the outer shadow, and then we have the innermost shadow, which is totally dark. So these 3 regions are called umbra from the inner shadow, then antumbra, and then penumbra. But we shall only consider 2 regions, that is the umbra region being the innermost and darkest part of our shadow that receives no light from the source, and then the penumbra region, which is the outer part of the shadow that is faintly dark and receives some light from the source. In summary, this is what we've discussed. Objects that allow almost all light to pass through them are called transparent objects. Then objects that allow some light to pass through them are called translucent objects. And objects that allow no light to pass through them are called opaque objects. Finally, we discovered that a shadow has 3 regions, but for this case, we are going to consider 2 regions, one being the umbra region, which is the central and the darkest part of a shadow, and then the penumbra region, which is the outermost part of the shadow that surrounds the umbra region. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below, and please do like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.